Humanity's rise. In the year 2257, humanity had finally achieved the dream of reaching for the stars. Leading the charge was Captain Alara Vance, a brilliant tactician and commander of Earth's most advanced starship, the Eas Orion. Alara had dedicated her life to the service of her planet and its people, driven by an insatiable curiosity about the wonders that lay beyond Earth's atmosphere. Earth's rapid technological advancements had not gone unnoticed by the galactic community. The Galactic Council, an ancient federation of spacefaring civilizations, had been observing humanity's progress with keen interest. When they finally initiated first contact, it was a moment of profound significance for all of humankind. The Council's ambassadors arrived in a magnificent starship that dwarfed even the Orion. They came bearing messages of peace, cooperation, and the promise of shared knowledge. The people of Earth were elated, and governments worldwide scrambled to establish diplomatic relations with these enigmatic aliens. Alara was at the forefront of these negotiations, her natural charisma and sharp intellect making her an invaluable asset in forging ties with the Council. She marveled at the advanced technologies and wisdom the alien delegates shared, and dreamed of a future where humanity would take its rightful place among the stars, alongside these enlightened civilizations. However, as the negotiations progressed, Alara began to notice subtle inconsistencies in the Council's behavior. They seemed evasive when questioned about certain aspects of their history and the nature of their relationships with other, less advanced species. Alara's instincts told her that something was amiss, but with the overwhelming excitement surrounding humanity's first contact, her concerns were brushed aside by her superiors. Determined to uncover the truth, Alara launched her own secret investigation into the Council's activities. She enlisted the help of her most trusted crew members, including her second-in-command, the ever-loyal Lieutenant Zara Rin, and the brilliant but eccentric Dr. Liam Sorensen, the Orion's chief science officer. Together, they began to piece together a disturbing picture of the Council's true nature. They discovered records of other civilizations that had been exploited and manipulated by the Council, their resources stripped away, and their autonomy eroded over time. It became clear that the Council's benevolence was nothing more than a facade, masking their true intentions. As Alara and her team delved deeper into the Council's secrets, they realized that humanity's rapid advancement had not been welcomed by all members of the galactic community. Some saw Earth as a potential threat, a rising power that could challenge the Council's dominance. The ambassadors' overtures of friendship and cooperation were merely a ploy to lull humanity into a false sense of security, making them vulnerable to the Council's machinations. Alara knew that she had to act fast. She gathered her evidence and prepared to present it to Earth's leaders, hoping to warn them of the impending danger. However, before she could do so, the Council made their move. In a shocking display of aggression, they launched a surprise attack on Earth, their warships descending upon the planet like a swarm of locusts. Earth's defenses, caught off guard by the sudden betrayal, crumbled under the onslaught. The skies burned as the Council's weapons rained down destruction upon the planet's cities and military installations. Amidst the chaos, Alara and a crew of the Orion managed to escape the carnage, fleeing into the depths of space with a small fleet of surviving Earth ships. As the Orion hurtled through the void, Alara steeled herself for the battle to come. She knew that the Council's betrayal would not go unanswered, and that humanity's very survival now depended on the strength and ingenuity of its people. The rise of humanity had been met with treachery, but Alara vowed that they would not fall. They would fight, and they would prevail, no matter the cost. The Galactic Council's deception. In the aftermath of the Council's devastating attack on Earth, Captain Alara Vance and the survivors of the Eas Orion fled into the uncharted depths of space. As they nursed their wounds and mourned their losses, Alara knew that they had to act quickly to uncover the full extent of the Council's deception. She gathered her crew in the Orion's command center, the room filled with a palpable tension. Zara Rin, her second-in-command, stood at her side, her usually stoic demeanor tinged with a simmering anger. Dr. Liam Sorensen, the ship's chief science officer, fidgeted with a data pad, his brow furrowed in concentration. "We've analyzed the data we managed to retrieve before the attack," Sorensen began, his voice tight with emotion. "It's worse than we feared. The Council has been manipulating and exploiting less advanced civilizations for centuries." He brought up a holographic display, showing a sprawling network of star systems and trade routes. They've been systematically stripping these worlds of their resources, using their advanced technology to keep the populations in check and prevent them from developing the means to resist. Alara felt a cold fury rising within her, and they saw humanity as a threat to their dominance. She said, her voice hard as steel, "Our rapid progress, our unwillingness to submit to their authority, it challenged their grip on power." Zara Rin nodded grimly. "They couldn't control us, so they decided to destroy us instead." The crew fell silent, the weight of the revelation hanging heavy in the air. Alara knew that they had to expose the Council's true nature to the rest of the galaxy, but she also knew that they were now fugitives, hunted by the very civilization they had once hoped to join. "We need allies," she said at last, her gaze sweeping across the room. "Other species who have suffered under the Council's rule, who will stand with us against their tyranny." Sorensen's eyes lit up. "The Naxians," he exclaimed. "They were one of the first civilizations to be exploited by the Council. If anyone has reason to fight, it's them." Alara felt a flicker of hope at the suggestion. The Naxians were a proud and warlike species, known for their fierce independence and their refusal to bow to outside authority. If they could convince them to join their cause, they might stand a chance against the Council's overwhelming might. "Set a course for Naxia Prime," she ordered, her voice ringing with determination. "We have a rebellion to start." As the Orion charted a path through the stars, Alara and her crew began to piece together a plan. They would need to gather intelligence on the Council's movements, identify their weaknesses, and strike at the heart of their power. It would be a long and perilous journey, fraught with danger at every turn, but Alara knew that they had no choice. The Council had betrayed not only humanity, but the very principles of freedom and self-determination that lay at the core of any just society. They had to be stopped, no matter the cost. As the Orion hurtled through the void, Alara steeled herself for the battles to come. She knew that the odds were stacked against them, that they were facing an enemy with vastly superior numbers and technology. But she also knew that humanity had faced impossible odds before and emerged victorious. They would do so again, she vowed, her eyes fixed on the stars that streamed past the ship's viewports. They would expose the Council's deception, rally the oppressed peoples of the galaxy to their cause, and forge a new future, free from the tyranny of their self-appointed masters. The Galactic Council had sown the seeds of its own destruction when it betrayed humanity. Now it would reap the whirlwind. The Betrayal. As the EA's Orion approached Naxia Prime, Captain Alara Vance couldn't shake the sense of unease that had settled over her. The Naxians were known for their warrior culture, their fierce pride, and their distrust of outsiders. Convincing them to join their cause would be no easy feat. She stood on the bridge, watching as the planet grew larger on the view screen. Naxia Prime was a harsh and unforgiving world, its surface a patchwork of jagged mountains and sprawling rust-colored deserts. The Naxians had carved out a life in this hostile environment, their cities built into the sides of towering cliffs and deep canyons. "We're being hailed," Zara Rin reported from her station, her voice tense. "It's the Naxian High Command." Alara nodded, steeling herself for the confrontation to come. On screen, the view screen flickered to life, revealing the stern-faced Naxian in full battle armor. His eyes were a piercing yellow, his skin a mottled green, and his voice was a deep, guttural growl. "I am General Zorak of the Naxian High Command," he said, his tone laced with suspicion. "State your purpose, human or be destroyed." Alara stepped forward, her head held high. "General Zorak, I am Captain Alara Vance of the Earth Alliance ship Orion. We come in peace, seeking your aid against a common enemy. Zorak's eyes narrowed. And what enemy would that be, human? The Galactic Council, Elara replied, her voice firm. They have betrayed us, just as they once betrayed your people. We have evidence of their deception, their exploitation of less advanced civilizations for their own gain. There was a long, tense silence. Then, to Elara's surprise, Zorak threw back his head and laughed, a harsh, grating sound that echoed through the bridge. You come to us now, human, after your own people have been crushed beneath the Council's heel. He sneered. Where were you when our world was ravaged, our people enslaved? The Naxians fight their own battles. We have no need of your aid or your pity. Elara felt a flush of anger at the general's words, but she forced herself to remain calm. General, I understand your distrust, but the Council's betrayal of humanity has opened our eyes to the true nature of their regime. We are not here to pity you, but to stand with you, to fight alongside you for the freedom of all species. She took a deep breath, her gaze unwavering. The Council sees us as a threat because we dared to challenge their authority. But imagine what we could accomplish together with the strength of the Naxian people and the technological might of humanity. We could break the Council's grip on power once and for all. Zorak regarded her for a long moment, his expression unreadable. Then, slowly, he nodded. Your words have merit, Captain Vance. The Naxian people have long dreamed of the day when we would make the Council pay for their crimes against us. If you truly seek to destroy them, then we will fight at your side. Elara felt a surge of relief and gratitude. Thank you, General. Together, we will bring an end to the Council's tyranny. As the communication ended, Elara turned to her crew, a fierce determination burning in her eyes. This is only the beginning, she said, her voice ringing with conviction. We have a long road ahead of us, but with the Naxians as our allies, we have a chance to turn the tide. She looked out at the stars, her heart racing with a mixture of fear and exhilaration. The Council had betrayed them, but in doing so, they had sown the seeds of their own destruction. Humanity would rise from the ashes of their treachery, stronger and more united than ever before. And at the head of this new alliance, Captain Elara Vance would lead the charge, a beacon of hope in a galaxy consumed by darkness. The final battle was coming, and she would be ready to meet it head-on. Humanity's counterattack. With the support of the Naxian people, Captain Elara Vance and her crew began to plan their counterattack against the Galactic Council. They knew that they would need to strike at the heart of the Council's power to expose their corruption and rally the other oppressed species of the galaxy to their cause. Their first target was the Council's main headquarters, a massive space station that served as the nerve center of their vast empire. The station was heavily defended, with a fleet of warships and an array of advanced weapon systems that could easily destroy any attacking force. But Elara had a plan. She had learned from her time in the Earth Alliance military that sometimes the best way to defeat a stronger enemy was not through brute force, but through cunning and guile. She gathered her crew and their Naxian allies in the Orion's command center, a holographic display of the Council's headquarters hovering before them. We can't take the station by force, she said, her voice firm, but we can infiltrate it, using a small team to disable its defenses from within. Zara Wren stepped forward, her eyes gleaming with anticipation. I'll lead the team, she said. We'll use a cloaked shuttle to slip past their sensors and dock with the station. Dr. Liam Sorensen nodded, his brow furrowed in concentration. I can create a virus that will disable their weapon systems and communications, he said, but we'll need to plant it directly into their central computer core. General Zorak, the leader of the Naxian forces, grinned fiercely. My warriors will provide a distraction, he said. We'll launch a series of hit-and-run attacks on their supply lines, drawing their attention away from the station. Elara nodded, a sense of pride swelling in her chest. Her team was ready, their skills honed, and their resolve unshakable. They would not fail. The plan was set into motion, and the infiltration team launched their assault on the Council's headquarters. Zara Rin and her team managed to slip aboard the station undetected, their cloaked shuttle gliding silently through the void. Once inside, they moved quickly and quietly, their weapons at the ready. They encountered resistance from the Council's security forces, but their training and determination proved too much for the defenders. Dr. Sorensen worked frantically to plant his virus, his fingers flying over the computer console as he hacked through the Council's defenses. The minutes ticked by, each one feeling like an eternity, until finally he let out a triumphant shout. "It's done!" he exclaimed, his face flushed with exhilaration. "The Council's weapons and communications are offline." At that moment, General Zorak's forces launched their attack, their ships swooping in from all directions to harass the Council's fleet. The Council's commanders were thrown into disarray, their ships scattered and their defenses in shambles. Seizing the opportunity, Alara led the Orion and its allied ships in a direct assault on the Council's headquarters. They pounded the station with everything they had, their weapons tearing through its hull and exposing its vulnerable innards. The Council's forces fought back desperately, but they were no match for the combined might of humanity and the Naxians. The tide of the battle had turned, and victory was within their grasp. As the Council's headquarters crumbled before them, Alara felt a sense of grim satisfaction. They had struck a blow against the heart of the Council's power, but she knew that the war was far from over. The Council would not take this defeat lying down. They would regroup, marshal their forces, and come at them with everything they had. But Alara was ready for them. She had seen the strength and courage of her people, and she knew that they would not rest until the galaxy was free from the Council's tyranny. The counterattack had been a success, but the final confrontation was still to come. And when it did, Captain Alara Vance would be there to lead the charge, a beacon of hope in a galaxy consumed by darkness. The final confrontation. In the aftermath of their successful strike against the Galactic Council's headquarters, Captain Alara Vance and her allies knew that they had to press their advantage. The Council's forces were in disarray, their command structure shattered and their defenses weakened. It was the perfect opportunity to strike at the heart of their power and bring an end to their tyrannical rule. But Alara knew that the Council would not go down without a fight. They were a proud and ruthless organization, with a history of crushing any opposition to their rule. They would unleash every weapon in their arsenal, every trick and tactic they had honed over centuries of domination, to maintain their grip on power. The final confrontation came sooner than anyone expected. The Council's leadership, desperate to regain control, launched a massive counterattack against the Orion and its allies. A fleet of warships, bristling with advanced weaponry and shielding, dropped out of hyperspace and engaged the rebel forces in a fierce and bloody battle. Alara stood on the bridge of the Orion, her jaw set and her eyes blazing with determination. She knew that this was the moment of truth, the point of no return. If they failed here, the Council would crush them utterly, and the galaxy would be. Alara stood on the bridge of the Orion, her jaw set and her eyes blazing with determination. She knew that this was the moment of truth, the point of no return. If they failed here, the Council would crush them utterly, and the galaxy would be plunged into a new age of darkness and oppression. But she refused to let that happen. She had come too far, sacrificed too much, to let the Council win now. She would fight to her last breath, rally her allies to stand with her, and bring an end to the Council's reign of terror once and for all. The battle raged around them. The void of space lit up with the flash of weapons fire and the explosions of dying ships. The Council's forces were formidable, their technology advanced beyond anything the rebels had ever seen. But the rebels had something the Council did not: the courage and determination of those fighting for their freedom. Alara watched as the Naxian ships, led by General Zorak, dove into the fray with reckless abandon, their warriors screaming battle cries over the comms. The Orion and its human crew fought with equal ferocity, their weapons cutting through the Council's shields and hulls like a hot knife through butter. But the Council's forces were relentless, and their numbers seemed endless. For every ship the rebels destroyed, two more took its place, pressing the attack with a single-minded fury that bordered on madness. Alara knew that they could not win this battle through force of arms alone. They needed to strike at the heart of the Council's leadership, to cut off the head of the snake, and watch the body wither and die. She turned to Zara Rin, her second in command, her eyes flashing with a fierce determination. "Take a team and board the Council's flagship," she ordered. "Find their leaders and take them down. We'll cover your approach and keep their forces occupied." Zara Rin nodded, a grim smile on her face. "With pleasure, Captain," she said. "It's time to end this, once and for all." As Zara Rin and her team launched their assault on the Council's flagship, Alara and the remaining rebel forces redoubled their efforts, fighting with a desperation born of the knowledge that everything hung in the balance. The minutes stretched into hours, and the hours into a never-ending blur of blood and fire and death. Ships exploded and crews died, their screams echoing across the void of space. But still, the rebels fought on, driven by a purpose greater than their own lives. And then, suddenly, it was over. The Council's flagship, its hull breached and its systems failing, erupted in a blinding flash of light, taking with it the Council's leadership and their dreams of galactic domination. A cheer went up from the rebel forces, a cry of triumph and relief that echoed across the stars. They had done it. They had defeated the Council and won their freedom, against all odds. But even as they celebrated, Alara knew that their work was far from over. The Council's deception had been exposed, and their tyranny brought to an end, but the scars of their rule would linger for generations. It would be up to her, and to all those who had fought alongside her, to build a new future for the galaxy, a future free from oppression and exploitation, where every species could chart its own destiny and reach for the stars. As the Orion and its allies set course for home, Alara looked out at the stars, a sense of hope and determination burning in her heart. The final confrontation had been won, but the struggle for a better tomorrow had only just begun. And she would be there, leading the charge, every step of the way. A new era. In the aftermath of the Council's defeat, the galaxy was left in a state of shock and uncertainty. For centuries, the Council had been the dominant power, the arbiter of fate for countless species and worlds. Now, with their leadership gone, and their armies scattered, a power vacuum had emerged, and the future was anyone's guess. But for Captain Alara Vance and her allies, there was no time to rest on their laurels. They knew that the hard work of building a new galactic order had only just begun, and that they would need to act quickly to seize the opportunity that had been presented to them. The first step was to reach out to the other species that had suffered under the Council's rule, to offer them a hand in friendship and a chance to forge a new path together. Many were hesitant at first, wary of any new power that might seek to dominate them, as the Council had done. But Alara and her team were patient, and they worked tirelessly to build trust and forge new alliances. One by one, the species of the galaxy began to come together, united by a common desire for freedom and self-determination. The Naxians, who had fought so bravely alongside humanity in the final battle, became their closest allies, their warriors and diplomats working side by side to bring stability to the war-torn sectors of the galaxy. Other species, too, joined the new alliance, bringing with them their unique strengths and perspectives. The Thalaxians, with their advanced understanding of science and technology, helped to rebuild the shattered infrastructure of the galaxy, while the Zephyrians, with their deep spiritual traditions, brought a sense of unity and purpose to the fledgling coalition. At the center of it all was Alara Vance, the woman who had led the charge against the Council and brought about a new era of hope and possibility. She was hailed as a hero by the people of the galaxy, her name spoken with reverence and awe by all who had witnessed her courage and determination. But Alara knew that she could not do it alone. She relied on the strength and wisdom of her crew, the brave men and women who had fought alongside her through thick and thin. Zara Rin, her loyal second-in-command, became her most trusted advisor, while Dr. Liam Sorensen and the other scientists of the Orion worked tirelessly to unlock the secrets of the galaxy and bring about a new age of discovery and innovation. As the weeks turned into months, and the months into years, the new alliance began to take shape, a beacon of hope and unity in a galaxy that had known only darkness and division for so long. Trade routes were established, diplomatic ties were forged, and a new sense of purpose began to take hold, as species that had once been bitter enemies learned to work together for the common good. And at the heart of it all was Earth, the birthplace of the woman who had made it all possible. Alara Vance, once a humble captain in the Earth Alliance, now served as the ambassador of her people to the galaxy at large, a symbol of the indomitable human spirit and the power of unity in the face of adversity. As she looked out at the stars from her quarters on the Orion, Alara couldn't help but feel a sense of pride and accomplishment. They had done it. They had defeated the Council, brought an end to their tyranny, and forged a new future for the galaxy. It had been a long and difficult road, but in the end, it had all been worth it. The future was bright, and the possibilities were endless. With humanity and its allies standing together, there was nothing they could not accomplish, no challenge they could not overcome. A new era had dawned, and Alara Vance would be there to lead the way, a beacon of hope and inspiration for generations to come. Alara's personal journey, delving deeper into Alara's backstory, her motivations, and how the events of the story impact her on a personal level. This could include flashbacks to her early life, pivotal moments in her career, and her relationships with key crew members like Zara Rin and Dr. Sorensen. The challenges of building a new order. Exploring the difficulties Alara and her allies face in forging a new galactic order, such as overcoming long-standing animosities between species, establishing fair and equitable systems of governance, and dealing with remnants of the Council's regime who seek to undermine their efforts. The role of Earth, elaborating on how Earth and humanity fit into the new galactic order, including the challenges of integrating a relatively young and inexperienced species into a complex web of interstellar politics and diplomacy. New threats and challenges. Introducing new antagonists or challenges that emerge in the aftermath of the Council's defeat, such as rival factions seeking to fill the power vacuum, mysterious alien entities with unknown agendas, or internal strife within the new alliance that threatens to tear it apart. The legacy of the Council. Exploring the lingering impact of the Council's rule on the galaxy, including the scars left on the psyches of the oppressed species, the remnants of their advanced technology and infrastructure, and the secrets they may have taken to their graves. The next generation. Jumping forward in time to explore how the events of the story have shaped the galaxy decades or even centuries later, and how a new generation of leaders and heroes, inspired by Alara's example, continue the work of building a better future for all. These are just a few possibilities, but the beauty of storytelling is that there are endless directions in which the narrative could evolve. The key is to stay true to the core themes and characters while introducing new elements that keep the story fresh, engaging, and thought-provoking.